Hello, you guys. Welcome to the Ranting Shop. It's me, Melissa, and today we're going to be doing the review for Love and Marriage Huntsville. This is, I believe, episode 20. This is the finale. Sorry, not finale. This is the reunion episode, you guys. And this has been the juiciest reunion I've ever seen. And one of the reasons is because Carlos King asked very, very extremely direct questions. And that has been my issue with a lot of reality show reunions. They pussyfoot. They go around the question. They never really ask direct questions. And when they do ask direct questions, the response they get from the people are sometimes lies, or they don't even fully answer the question, and then that question is ignored. But I love that Carlos King delved into everything. He didn't leave any stone unturned. He asked every question, any question that was brought up that anybody wanted to know. He asked for clarification. He asked them to be specific. He asked about a timeline. I loved it. It was phenomenal. Anyways, let's get into things, you guys. So, let me get my notes. So, Carlos announces that he is the host, and that makes Marceau, Tisha, and Martel very nervous because, as they said, Carlos knows a lot of their business. He knows a lot of their dirt. So, he's afraid that Carlos is going to bring it up on the show. And we all know Martel has lots of dirt, and so he is very, very skeptical about what is going to happen. We have Marceau, who, feels as if a lot of sensitive information has been told to Carlos. So what will Carlos ask? What will Carlos say? They're like sweating under their wigs. They're sweating in their nether regions. Everybody is sweating and very, very nervous, except for Kimi. Well, according to what she said. Now, Maurice and Kimi come in first, and Carlos mentions Maurice handling 6 women because he asked Maurice how he could handle all of Kimi's curves. We know Kimi is very curvy, and he's like, yes, he can handle it. And they mentioned, just like you can handle the 6 women. So that just gave us a preview of how direct Carlos would be. There would be no pussyfooting. There would be no asking indirect questions. There would be no asking questions, sugarcoating questions. You would be asked exactly what he meant to ask, So, Marceau and Tisha, first of all, hated her dress. It was this orange, sparkly, just ugly dress. I must say it was an ugly dress. It looked like a dress coming from Las Vegas, like these Las Vegas girls, that the can girls. I don't know, it just looked very showgirl-ish. I hated it. I also did not like the hair. I was not really feeling the part. It was this kind of middle part. It just looked weird and crazy. Furthermore, I hated the highlight that they put on this woman's face. They put like this gold Fenty highlight, like I'm assuming it's Fenty, highlight on this woman's cheeks. And I was like, what is this? This looks crazy. They really did her dirty with that outfit and that makeup and that hair. Everything was just wrong, And Tisha is a beautiful woman. Nobody is arguing her beauty. But what they did to her, the look was just dismal. It was insane, However, I must mention the other women's outfits. I loved Kimi's outfit, even though I think it was very simple. It was just a sparkly red gown with a plunging, neckline. And the hair was just this loose wave in what looked like a brown shade with a middle part. And Miss Melody was wearing this black gown, and I liked the hair. The hair complemented the gown. She looked really good. Between all the women, Melody to me looked the best. I have to say. However, Tisha looked the worst. I wasn't really interested in Martel's look, his blue tuxedo. I was like, okay, whatever. I feel like Marceau did a basic tuxedo, I did not like what Maurice was wearing. That gray, I don't know, I just didn't quite like it. I think he should have done much better with his outfit. This looked like what you wear to church, basically. And I was like, you know. But anyways, so Martel comes in with the blue tuxedo, Mel in her black. They started off with the intro. Her intro, I was saying, was a bit much because Carlos loves to hype Melody up because he knows Melody is literally the star of the show. He introduced the platinum selling, whatever he said. He exaggerated the introduction, and I was like, okay, I guess. He starts with flashbacks of where they started and everything with the comeback group and whatever. Tisha is proud of the progress they've made. However, she says that she's off Twitter because, of course, viewers and people used to really come for Tisha, including me. Because a lot of the things she was doing, I didn't quite like. I thought they were very passive-aggressive. And like a lot of people just did not really like Tisha. I think now people are coming to like her more. But in the beginning of the show, nobody really liked Tisha. So she's off Twitter. Mel does not regret the show. However, Martel does because he thinks he sacrificed a lot. He wants credit for her success because he feels like he did the show for her. But my thing is, if you did the show for her, she clearly had a vision that you were not really inclusive of. Like, she knew where she was going or where she wanted to go with her life. I mean, you supported her, but you can't take credit for what she did because she did that, He blames the show for losing his family. I mean, at the end of the day, there was a reunion that we didn't get to see because of the delay. And I just feel as if it's been so long since that infidelity, and Martel still cannot take responsibility for his actions. This had nothing to do with the show and everything to do with your cheating. The sooner he comes to terms with that, the better for him. I feel like at this point, this man is in complete denial. He's still not in a place of healing. He still chooses to blame everybody for his downfalls. And I feel like that is very sad. That is extremely sad. Whenever you think Martel is getting it, he says something that proves that he's not. And he's choosing to not get it for some reason. It was you that caused the demise of your marriage. I do remember during the whole divorce situation, Marceau did mention the only reason why Melody went through with the divorce is because they were in a public scenario. They were on a show, they had the social media, everything was playing out publicly for everyone to see, and the pressure of that caused the divorce. However, according to Melody, with or without the public scrutiny, she would have still not accepted Martha cheating on her because according to her, she had already taken steps to get divorced from him, and she didn't get divorced because of the baby. She got divorced prior to even knowing that he got the other woman pregnant. And she was actually keeping the child and having the child. So according to Melody, it wasn't because of the show. It was something that she was always going to do. So he blames the show for losing his family. Thought they could have worked it through outside of the show. He was asked if he'd still be married. He said yes. Mel doesn't agree that they'd still be married. I explained already. Thinks it was the influence of the comments which I said Marceau also thought. Marceau hated the title of the show. He thought it would be focused on construction. Turns out it wasn't, because Carlos felt like this was a good crop of people and the focus would be more on their relationship. Maurice thinks the trajectory of the show changed to ratchetry, essentially. He thought it went from sugar to shit, to shoot. And the reason why he says that is because he felt like, it would have been positive and everybody making big moves, like him in law school and everything like that. However, it ended up being about the arguments. And though I do agree to some extent, because a lot of viewers felt like in the beginning it was going to be a positive show, but it quickly turned into something that they saw before and they didn't want to see. However, it turned out that they did want to see it because it's one of the highest rated shows on OWN. So Marceau disagreed with his brother and thinks that they all do positive things and arguing is a small part of that, but they choose to highlight the arguing, but it doesn't mean that the show is necessarily a negative thing. They call out Maurice for not saying anything when they call Kimi a side chick. Martel says Marceau told him in a joking way that Kimi was a side chick. Marceau denies it and claims Martel is not a credible source, but he did laugh about it years later. What I will say is, it's easy to say that Martel is not a credible source because he's been proven a liar so many times. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Martel lies about everything. I think that as much as Martel is a liar, people can also use it to their advantage to always call him a liar, even when he's not. Tisha said she didn't believe it about Kimi being a side chick. However, according to what we saw on TV, every time Kimi being a side chick was brought up, they would pan over to Tisha's face, and Tisha always seemed like she believed the rumors. She would always question Kimi, even in the beginning during the Melody dinner that they had with the rest of the gang. She looked at Kimi suspiciously, like, I think you did that. So the way she's coming across this reunion is completely contradictory to how she was portrayed on the show, because what we saw from that show, even the most recent episode, when she mentioned the side chick thing, look at Tisha's facial expression. It looked like she also thought Kimi was a side chick, and now during this reunion she's trying to backtrack and say that she never believed it because she didn't know the timeline of things. So why didn't you say that on the show? I mean, I do know they edit things, but from what we saw, it didn't look like you didn't believe that, Tisha. So I'm looking at you sideways. Kimi said they signed the document months before she was in the picture. Now, my thing is, why isn't Kimi being explicit? What document was signed? Why are we as viewers having to guess or having to be unclear about what document was signed? Because any document could have been signed. She keeps saying they signed the document months before she was in the picture, and there was a 6-month waiting period for reconciliation, and that is why Kaiwa implied that Kimi interrupted the chance or the possibility of a reconciliation with Maurice. However, she's saying Kaiwa never called her a side chick, but if we recall, on that first reunion show, Kaiwa did say or did allude to Kimi being a side chick. She did. She may not have said it, but she did allude to it. And we cannot ignore that, So, Maurice felt it was laughable that anybody could call Kimi a side chick. But Martel is saying he didn't say it in a laughing way when he called her a side chick to Martel. Maurice said he fought for the... Wait, now before I even talk about Maurice, as I said before, Martel, his credibility is shot. However, it would be a little bit reckless of us as viewers to discount everything he says as a lie. I do believe that there's truth to what Martel says, and the reason why he gets called out for lying is because his facts are not 100% accurate. Or I should say his receipts or his recount of things are not 100% accurate. So because of that, it's easy for people to say and call him a liar. And we'll talk about proof of that later on. Now, Maurice is explaining that he filed for divorce and she was avoiding signing. Then she got sued. Now, we don't know when that divorce was finalized. They told us everything but when they finalized that divorce. And because they're not telling us when they finalized that divorce, we don't know. Or I should say, we have to keep that side chick thing on the table because they actually did not clear that up at all. They keep saying they filed a document. They say that there was a 6-month period, but they're not saying that, okay, I got officially divorced from Kiowa on that date. Me and Kimi got together on that date. This is what we need to know, and this is what we're not being told. And that is why, even after this part of the reunion, there's no clarity. So I still think Kimi was a side chick. If we want to be like really technical about things, we could just say that if we don't want to use the term side chick, she was a girlfriend while Maurice was still married to someone else. And the reason why I don't even really want to call her a side chick is because he had no plans of reconciling with his estranged wife, and that is what makes her not necessarily a side chick, but she was in a relationship with a man that was technically married, simply because of what they did not say, which is when they filed for divorce. I believe what Carlos should have done was pressed them more on the timeline of things. Ask them specifically, when did you get a divorce? Maurice, I'm not asking about when you filed. When did you get a divorce? When was it acknowledged in the court of law that you, Maurice, and Kiowa were officially no longer together? When? We want that date. And another thing that we need and we want is when you and Kimi got together. That detail is being left out, and that is why there is a question. There is room for questioning Kimi's status at that point in time. Now, as being a member of the show, I believe that anybody would understand our skepticism, and even after this reunion, even after this part, I am still left with answers, with questions that I need answers to, Anyways, they talk about pact and a toothbrush. I don't know what that meant, to be very honest with you, about somebody using his toothbrush. They never clarified that. It is what it is. Upon further analysis about the toothbrush thing, I think what it meant was that Kiowa cheated on him, and so that was something that he couldn't get past. Just like if someone uses your toothbrush, you would never be able to look at it or use it the same way again. Kimi, Kiowa, and Maurice, they talk about their relationship now, and it's much better. They try to communicate better for, of course, Monster. She mentioned Kimi, she gave Kaiwa a courtesy call, told her that you're gonna be talking about, their situation, just to keep the peace. And I believe that that was a good gesture from Kimi, just to maintain order amongst the adults. Okay, I still don't like that Maurice keeps Kimi out of situations that have to do with Monster, because she is the stepmom, but I like the fact that they've come to a point where they're very cordial now. Now, is Martel a complete liar or not precise? And that is the question that I asked when I was looking at this reunion, because he brought up a lot of damning evidence against Marceau and a lot of people. Now, Martel is definitely feeling the heat. And as we know of Martel, when he's in the hot seat, he's gonna want to redirect that heat onto his castmates. Now his credibility is shot. So when he attempts to do it, it looks as if he's being how should I say, he's being shut down. But when you really look at things, is he really lying? Is he really just being shut down just because of his credibility being shot? They did a recap of the divorce and everything that led to it. Mel likes watching the birth of her daughter, but thinks the arguments with Martel, what Martel was saying to her, was some BS and very contradictory, because he cheated, but then he's saying he's not a cheater. And everybody was looking at him crazy because you cheated. I mean, he makes it seem like he did this special thing that he wouldn't normally do. And I just feel like if you cheated, you are a cheater, essentially. So whatever he's trying to make us feel, it's not working, because at the end of the day, there's no, oh, I'm not a cheater, but I cheated with you. There's a cheater is a cheater, and that's just what it is. Carlos asked how COVID changed the trajectory of their marriage. Mel mentioned Martel leaving the house when there was a pandemic and they needed to stay at home. He says it was to go to the gym, and clearly this man was lying, because when they asked about this baby's age, the baby he had with Arion, he smiled and was unable to give a response, because he knows that telling us the date when that baby was conceived would completely prove that he was not going to the gym during that pandemic. He was going to see Arion. And I don't know why he's lying. Like, the funny thing about Martel is he's trying to prove that Melody was a liar while he is lying. Tell me how that makes sense. Tell me why anybody would want to believe Martel. Martel keeps shooting himself in the foot because he wants people to believe him, but then he keeps doing things that makes people doubt him. Because how can people believe you when you are proving that you're a liar? And the funny thing is, you're lying whilst you're trying to prove that Melody's a liar. You look even worse. Couldn't even answer when that baby was conceived, because he knows it would prove that he was not going to the gym and he was indeed cheating on Melody all that time. Now, she noticed that he was already preparing her to accept his cheating. And that's when she decided that she no longer wanted to be a part of it. She realized that Martel did not want to stop seeing Arion, and he was making excuses to continue to see her. So she was like, okay, I'm not going to continue to go through this. So she divorced him. The question of if public scrutiny pushed her to get divorced, I have to say that I do think that the public pressure kind of pushed her to do it sooner. Whereas if she was off the show, maybe she would have given him more and more chances. You know what I mean? But because the public is like, Why is she staying? Why is she going through this? Why is she continuing to accept this? She felt empowered, and I think that's what pushed her to solidify divorcing him. Maybe she had thoughts in her head that she was gonna do it, but the public backlash definitely pushed her to go through. That's my opinion. Now, she left because he didn't want to change in March 2017. That's the first time she discovered he was cheating. The child's mom, she said the child's mom answered the phone and told her she doesn't want to speak to her, put Martel on the phone. Now that woman is mad disrespectful. That's why I cannot stand Arion. She's freaking disrespectful. You know, where is the animosity towards this man's wife coming from? When you're the one cheating with her husband. That makes no sense. You know. Now, well, Martel accused Marceau of being with Mel and claimed that he apologized for being with Mel. Now, if we were to take that at face value, we would assume that Melody cheated on Martel with Marceau. And that's the seed that Martel wants to plant in our heads. He wants to plant this seed that Melody is such a cheater, which I think is very foul. Because come to find out, Marceau heard about the arguments they were having because I believe Miss Vanessa called him. I don't know. Miss Vanessa called someone because she didn't know what to do. Martel and Melody were fighting, you know. So Marceau is calling to kind of de-escalate the situation, trying to get Mel out of the house and safe and so on. So Marceau called with good intention. Martel had a problem with Marceau offering to take Melody out for drinks. He said he may have asked for them to go out for drinks, but it was in an attempt to protect her, to help her, to give her space to vent, you know, about her situation with Martel. According to Mel, he did offer to get drinks with Melody, which Martel took in a negative way because it was during a fight. And according to Mel, because he was cheating and he didn't want her to do anything. Tisha didn't seem to have known about that meetup with Marceau and Mel, which is a big problem that we've seen in the marriage between Marceau and Tisha. He does not communicate with her. He feels like there's no need to communicate with her because she's simply the wife and she doesn't need explanations. You know, she just has to trust that my intentions are good and I'm not gonna cheat, and that's it. But they really do need to talk and communicate. If you're gonna go out with our friend, then I should know, like, what's the big deal in telling me what you're doing? Tisha, yeah. And that is probably where the insecurity comes in with Tisha, because she doesn't know what this man is doing and she wants to trust him, but he's not making it easy for him to be trusted. Now, he mentioned Mel leaving him, and this is the part that gets very explicit. He mentioned Mel left him and performed fellatio on a man she met. Now, the question comes into play, did she cheat? Mel says she didn't because she had separated from Martel at that time. She said that she did not perform fellatio on the man, but the man performed fellatio on her. Now, she gave us a timeline. She moved out in December 2017, met a man, he performed fellatio on her. Martel thinks she's lying because according to some recording that he has on his phone, she admitted to performing fellatio on the man. Melody then says, if she did perform fellatio, she does not remember. Carlos said, if you put your mouth on something, that is something that you would remember. Melody is saying that because Martel is accusing her of saying that and having proof of her saying that she performed fellatio on the man, she is not sure if she did or if she didn't. According to her recollection of things, she didn't. However, based on what Martel is saying, she did. Now, my explanation of that whole confusion is that it is very possible that she told Martel this to hurt him because she felt hurt about Martel cheating on her. However, she didn't actually do it. But the fact that Martel has her saying it allegedly on a recording kind of makes the situation a bit murky because it looks as if she really did it. But she could have just said it at the time to hurt him. So two things can be true at the same time. She probably did say it to Martel at the moment, but whether she actually did it or not could also be in question. She may have lied, and that is where the it's kind of a little bit unclear. Based on everything I've heard from them, it looks like she didn't do it, but she did said it to Martel to hurt him. He did seem hurt because he's saying, this is one of the things I wanted you to do more on me, but you're doing it with another man, Anyways, what else? Carlos asked if Mel wanted to compete with Arion, and she said no. She stayed because she wanted to keep her marriage together and knew that Martel wasn't perfect and wanted to give him some grace and give him time for him to fix up. But based on how we saw it on TV, it did very much look like Melody wanted to compete with Coleslaw, or should I say Arion, at that moment, and that's why she stayed. Because if you look at when Arion got pregnant and when Melody got pregnant, they got pregnant around the same time. So it looked like a tit-for-tat thing between the women at that point. But Melody is saying no, and of course she'll say no. Because how would she look admitting to competing with the side chick? She'd look crazy. So nobody would admit to that. So Martel said he tried to get help for his cheating, but according to him, it was more than just sex. It was a different type of connection, which he had a hard time breaking away from. Carlos was telling Martel about himself because he just refuses to just admit and tell the truth. You were in love with the side woman. You loved her. You called her a peasant because you wanted to diminish the fact that you loved that woman. You didn't like how it would come across to the viewers, and a lot of why people don't deem Martel credible is because he doesn't admit to the things he does himself, but he wants people to admit to the things they do. It cannot be one-sided, and I believe Carlos 100% on that, and I'm happy he called Martel out on that. Just admit you were in love with the girl and finish with that, because that's the truth of the matter. You were in love with the woman you were sleeping on your wife with, and just leave it at that, because that's the truth. Or else you wouldn't keep going back to her. Remember, this was a 5-year relationship that he had with that woman. This wasn't just a one-night stand. So there had to be something more keeping him going back, even in a pandemic when he had to be there keeping his kids safe. He was outside risking getting COVID, risking bringing COVID to his family. all to be with that side woman. There had to be something more. And I'm happy Carlos called him out on that. Admit it. Just admit it to yourself. The final question was, if he met the side chick first, would he have married her? And they left us on a cliffhanger. However, next episode is gonna be even juicier. Destiny comes in and they ask her about why she's so secretive about her marriage. She looks good, by the way. Louis and Tiffany come in. They talk about the comments, and people were hating on Tiffany bad. Nobody liked Tiffany. People were in Tiffany's comment section, basically telling her to get off the show, telling her that she's fake, telling her that they hate her, telling her that she needs to leave and they need to cut them from the show. And she's alluding to the fact that that made her want to do some things to herself that were not positive. They checked them on some stuff, including them, taking the role of being the voice of reason, and they're not wanting them to be the voice of reason, because according to Marceau, he didn't think they were qualified enough to give him advice on his marriage. However, I must say a lot of things that Louis was telling Marceau was true. They do not communicate in their marriage. You know what I mean? And anyways, you guys, I'm just gonna cut it short. It's going way too long. Let me know what you guys think about this reunion show. It was awesome. I loved it. I loved the direct questions. Everything was cut and dry.